Hey, happy Monday, gang. Bill Sheridan with the Maryland Association of CPAs here to start your week with another CPA story as we search for the elusive purpose behind the profession, right? And we've got another great story to share with you today. My guest is Thomas White. Excited to have him with us. Thomas is Director of Accounting for CareFirst, BlueCross, BlueShield. He's also chair of the MACPA's board of directors for the 2024-25 fiscal year. So my boss in a way, as part of the healthcare community. So Thomas has a pretty cool purpose, right? He says, we're making healthcare better in Maryland, period. And he's doing that individually by ensuring the viability of CareFirst as an organization so that CareFirst can continue to do its critical work. So pretty cool purpose there. But that's the thing about accounting, right? Every organization on the planet needs the work that CPAs do. So as careers go, accounting kind of has a very fluid purpose that applies to almost everything. Pretty cool in that way. Everything that you can imagine being or doing or creating, accounting is right there. It's really kind of the door that opens up to incredibly meaningful work. So and Thomas, his first exposure actually to the profession was provided by the FBI, of all things. Pretty cool story there. I'm going to let him take it from here. Here's Thomas White with his CPA story.
I knew I wanted to be an accountant in eighth grade. And there was an assembly at school. I remember it vividly. And two FBI agents came in to give us background on career day of what they do. And one of their statements was the quickest and easiest way to become an FBI agent is to be an accountant. They want accountants. They want people that know numbers, because a lot of the things they do, the FBI and the Secret Service, are money related, right? Financial related, those type of things. It's not just out there chasing the 10 most wanted. And that intrigued me. And I think from that point forward, I took accounting classes in high school. I knew first foot on my college campus, I was going to be an accounting major. It clicked in high school. It was easy for me. I enjoyed it, and it's stuck with me for 20 plus years at this point in the industry. And while I realized very quickly during and shortly after college, I did not want to be an FBI agent for a myriad of reasons. There was still a lot of interesting and energetic pathways from an accounting career perspective that obviously still energize me to this day.
That's cool. That's a great kind of foot in the door story there. So I mean, tell me a little bit about the purpose or the why behind your work. What do you accomplish by doing what you do?
So I think for me, I actually have two purposes, Bill, right? Like I have a day-to-day purpose at my job, right? Like we're making healthcare better in Maryland, right? There are people every day that rely on CareFirst to see their doctor, to get their pharmacy claims filled, right? To be healthier, right? We've recently entered the Medicare and the Medicaid space when you're talking about, right, the elderly, the disadvantaged, right? The accounting back-end work helps our company continue to be able to expand in these lines, to continue to support members and to continue, right, to be a viable company. You got to be able to produce financial statements. You got to be able to talk about cash flows and where we invest and how do we spin up some of these lines of business that are not necessarily high profit margin businesses, but they're really important to our mission, right? Mm-hmm. So the work we do from an accounting side on the back end, right, people may not equate it to, but we are ensuring the viability of CareFirst, our compliance with the regulators, so that we can continue to help the communities. We can continue to help the hospitals. We can continue to provide those critical services to the people of Maryland, DC, and Northern Virginia. And that's huge to me, right? It's healthcare is one of the largest GDP spends we have. And, to work for a company that is not solely profit-based, right? We are very ingrained in the community, very ingrained in making sure that, right, it is affordable, it is accessible healthcare. And that's part of my mission, right? I support that every day with the teams I lead and helping the company move forward, right? The company has recently ventured into the provider space where we have a primary care practice. Without an investment from the company and without understanding the cash flows, return on investments, those type of things, the company wouldn't have been able to make the choice to organically grow into that sector. There's financial metrics that have to be done as part of that. And right, my team has an active involvement in those things, and the accounting side of that's really important and helps. I think on the flip side, the more and more my involvement with the MACPA grows, right, my purpose there is a little different, right?
Mm-hmm.
The the accounting career has given me everything, right? I have a great job. I work with a lot of really smart people. Um, I have a great mentor connection, right, with multiple mentors. My wife is a CPA. I met her through accounting. Some of my best friends are CPAs, and right, my purpose and involvement with the MACPA is to give back, right, to help high school students, college students, people early on in their career grow, develop, but really enjoy accounting because it's not just the old stereotypical back office pocket protector 10 key banging away at taxes thing. And I think the more that we tell that story and the more that people see we're not just those people,
Yeah.
that it's a great career path. It opens a ton of doors, and it's going to impact you in ways you never known. Like again, I met my wife through accounting, right? Um, I the court I moved in on. There's 5 or 6 CPAs on this court, and like none of them are just bookkeepers, right? The stereotypical thing. So for me, it's more about giving back in that community space so that we can continue to share the purpose, share the why, share that accountants are cool and it's a fantastic profession, but you're going to get more out of it than you ever realize. And part of that for me now is taking all of that I've gotten and hopefully giving back a fraction so that we can leave it better than we came into it.
Yeah, that's fabulous. And this question might be related in a way, but what's most gratifying about what you do? What inspires you, Thomas, about the work that you do?
Um, I think a lot of the things we do, if you look at it, are um, I'm gonna use the word entertaining, right? Like we do ROI analysis on business ventures. We look at like profitability of companies. That stuff, it's energizing to me. Like you're getting to see the inner workings of the company. But I think the other piece of it that really energizes me in my current position is developing people and right spending time working on my team and how do we get some of our staff to the next level, right? How do we train them and make them think differently, right? And not just about the debits and credits, but how their work impacts the entire organization and that growth and development piece of it. And spending time with my managers and the staff and my directors has become really important because I think not only am I preparing the next right tier of accountants and CPAs and those type of things, but it's also it's really rewarding to watch people grow and develop and watch them succeed. And I think that to me is cool. So when you can take those two things and marry them and say, okay, here's all the cool stuff we're doing, and here's how the accounting flows, and like you get into some of the technical pieces, and then you're watching somebody learn that as you're walking them through it, and you're watching them grow and mature and develop. You get to do, to me, two of the coolest things in the industry, right? You get the technical piece at times, but then you get that staff development, that growth, that mentoring piece that I think is A, really important, but B, it's another piece of that. Like I've gotten a lot of that in my career, so how do I give more of that back?
Yeah, yeah, and huge not only to the organization but to the profession too. I mean, I'm trying to think who it was. It might have been Tom Peters in one of his books had said, one of the most important jobs a leader has is to create new leaders, right? And I mean that plays out in a huge way, not only at the organizational level, but at the professional level and beyond. So that's huge. Um, and you mentioned students and trying to, maybe inspire the next generation of accountants coming up. Let's say that I'm a high school student, or I wish, but high school student or college student who's kind of struggling to figure out my way, my path, what do I want to study and or do in life. I mean, what would you tell me about accounting?
I think accounting is one of the best gateways into any career out there,
Hmm.
right? It gives you such a baseline and broad knowledge of what is going on in the world, right? Regardless of industry, right? Once you understand a company from an audit and an accounting side, you understand everything that that company goes through,
Yeah.
right? And then you start applying it more broadly to industries, right? That knowledge allows you to do anything that you want long term. And I had somebody years ago at CareFirst look at me and say, "What do you want to be when you grow up?" Right? I was a senior auditor, and I didn't have an answer to that question, Bill. Right? Like I'm 10 years into my career, and I'm like, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up. That's a fantastic. But the reason he framed it that way is with an accounting degree, a CPA, and I have, you know, a large background in audit, I could do anything at CareFirst, right? I can go into marketing, I can go into operations, I can do the accounting side, I could have stayed in audit. And I think that to me is one of the biggest selling points that people miss.
Hmm.
Um, Once you have that knowledge, accounting just opens the door for any piece of it, right? And
Yeah.
even at the end of the day, and I say this a lot, right? I love my job. I'm not looking for a new job. I love the team I work with, but like accounting crosses industries. So I may not know how to do an apparel company like Under Armour,
Right.
but the accounting all works the same,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So your skill set becomes so universally important that you may not know what you want to do now as a high school student, as a college student. Heck, I was 6 or 7, 10 years into my career and wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to be when I grew up. And yet I could pick any door I wanted. And I think that's really cool for people to think about. Like, you could be a chief operating officer, right? You could be a rocket scientist. We hear that all the time, right? You can be an auditor, you can be a CEO, right? Like, all of those things are open to accountants just based on that knowledge and based on that skill set you develop. It's huge. And I think that's the biggest selling point for me if people were to look at it. Like, not that I think other career lines pigeonhole you, but I think just the flexibility that accounting and ultimately the CPA provide is massively valuable.
Great stuff there from Thomas White. So glad that he could take time out of his busy schedule to be here today. We want to hear from you too. So head on over, if you would, to macpa.org/Y and share your story with us as we try to offer, a little bit of inspiration to the next generation of accounting and finance professionals. We want to hear what your CPA purpose is too. So help us out there. And as always, thanks for being here. Glad you could be here with us. We'll be back next week. More stories to share. Until then, have a great week. Look forward to talking to you again very soon. Take care.